Welcome to Uninterrupted, the podcast from Forbes Cybersecurity, where we dive into the world of technology, cybersecurity, and IT solutions. We help your business stay ahead of the curve. Whether you're a business owner, IT professional, or just tech curious, this is your go-to source for staying informed and staying secure.
Welcome back to another episode of Uninterrupted. I'm your host, Chris Hammonds, and with me this morning is our COO, Jon Paus. Jon, good morning.
Hey, morning.
Morning. And as always, we're going to get right into it. So, Jon, one of the terms that I keep seeing more and more, and people are using more and more, is something called supply chain compliance request. Can you tell everyone a little bit about what that is?
Yeah, so that's when a business that you work with asks you, what are you doing for your cybersecurity in order to basically continue to do business with you? It's different than a cyber insurance request or some other compliance because it's not coming from something that you're trying to actively get. It's coming from one of the companies that you work with. And basically what they're trying to do is say, hey, we're trying to shore up our supply chain to make sure that a cyber incident on your end can't affect them.
Gotcha. And that makes total sense, too. I mean, if you're doing business with another company, you want to make sure that they don't open up a door for any type of hacker, right? No, that makes total sense. Now, who's getting these requests? What types of businesses get these types of requests?
Well, we see all kinds of businesses getting it. Obviously, right now, manufacturing firms are getting it probably at a little bit higher rate, especially with things. CMMC is a big one that's caused a lot of people to get them. What that is a government compliance in order to work with the Defense Department supply chain. So it'll be some company that has a direct contract with the Defense Department will want their suppliers, it'll say in this compliance that they have to do that, hey, if you supply something to me, then I supply something to the Defense Department, then you need to be compliant with certain cybersecurity standard. So that's where some of this has come from, this idea of it's come from, but we're seeing it in many different industries. We've seen it for years in the banking and financial industry. A company that will do business with a large bank will have to get a certain thing that says, hey, you need to be doing this in order to continue doing business with us. And it's not hey, fill this out and tell us what you're doing. It's like, no, you specifically need to be doing these things or you can stop doing business with us. That then you have to make a certain considerations, like how much part of your revenue is it? How much is it going to cost you to do to order to do this? Do you want to continue doing business with that customer? But we're seeing it in many different aspects. I have a person who's a business coach. They asked her what her, the business that she was working with, they asked her what her email security is because she's going to be getting emails back and forth with this larger company. And so we're seeing it really across the board. And it's, if you're doing businesses with either larger organizations, so as we've talked about in the past, the larger organizations have strengthened their cybersecurity and they've locked their house down more. So if you're doing business with them, you're going to be seeing these supply chain compliance requests. Or if you're dealing with a business that is already under some sort of compliance. A lot of those compliances will say, vet out your vendors and make sure that their cyber resilience is high enough so that a cyber incident with them can't affect you, whether with intellectual property theft or the ability to produce your goods and services and deliver them to the people that you need.
Gotcha. Okay, so even if it's a small business and they don't necessarily need to be compliant, they could still see one of these requests.
Oh, yeah. So that business coach that I talked about in the past, her company is one person.
Oh, yeah.
And so in order to do business with this organization that they needed to do business with, they needed to make sure that their email security was at the same level, if not higher, as what the enterprise that they were working with. Now, she was working with us, so it wasn't hard to do so. We already have a robust cybersecurity package on Office 365. So we just had to fill out the forms and attest to what was actually being done. But, you know, we've seen other cases where other businesses aren't doing those items. And so they sometimes lose the contracts or they won't be able to get them going forward.
Gotcha. Okay. So some of our clients obviously have received some of these requests. So we've seen quite a few of them at this point. What are the questions just about kind of what you're doing technically? What walk us through kind of what are some of the questions that the supply chain compliance requests are asking?
Yeah. So we're seeing more and more that they're more policy. There's a technical aspect and a policy aspect. And so they look more like compliance programs than they do cyber insurance questionnaires or those types of items. And so they want to know technically what you're doing for cybersecurity, but then they also want to know your policies and procedures around them. So a lot of companies will see that they'll just put tool sets on a system and say, hey, I have an EDR installed and that's enough. Well, these larger organizations know that that isn't enough. And these compliancy programs like NIST or the Center for Internet Security, CIS Controls, NIST 800-171 or the CMMC compliance, they talk about not just what are you doing technically, but what are your policies and procedures around? What are your employees doing? How are they trained? Do they know what their responsibilities are for cybersecurity? Do they know what they're looking out for? What is your policies for onboarding and offboarding employees? How do you make sure that they only have access to the data that they're supposed to have? And so when I see these questionnaires now coming, they're not just saying, hey, tell me that you have some EDR antivirus software on it and that's good enough. They're saying, hey, tell me what EDR antivirus software you have, what version number it is, when was the last time I got security updates, do you have a security operations center looking at it, tell me what SIM you're running, tell me what technical controls you're doing, and it's saying, what is your password policy? What is your employee onboarding and offboarding policy? How do you train your employees? Do your employees know what their acceptable use policies are? Do you have bring your own device policies? They're asking about all these things that are a pretty large uplift for a company who hasn't done anything with that.
Gotcha. Okay. So we received one recently. How many questions were on that?
It was 100.
100 questions about that.
The longest cyber insurance application I've ever seen was about 30 questions. Most of them are about 11. This was 100 questions, and they were open-ended. So it was, what are you doing for this? Are you doing this, yes or no? If yes, answer this. If no, answer this. So you had to explain every single answer you gave. It wasn't just filling out a yes or no question. You had to tell them why.
Gotcha. Now, why do you think they're, and you kind of touched on this earlier, why do you think that they need to know every single thing? Why do they need to know that many questions, right? I mean, that seems a bit extensive, but tell us a little bit about why you think that they go that far in detail.
So the reason that they're asking these questions and they're being this in-depth is all about risk mitigation. So what they're doing as an organization is they're looking to limit their risk in dealing with you as a potential vendor. What that means is a couple of different things. One is they're looking at their intellectual property. So if they have to pass their intellectual property over to you in order for you to produce the goods or service that you do, then that's a potential security risk for them. So in this case, it came from a manufacturing firm sending over some, they're going to be sending over some drawings and intellectual property in order for this company to be able to produce the goods and services that they do to them. And so they want to make sure that that intellectual property is safe. Otherwise, I've seen it have to do with operations. So if your material that you produce for this organization is critical to them being able to deliver their goods and service on the other end, and your cyber event could cause them to not be able to make money and deliver their product, then they want to know that your cyber resilience is high enough in order to cover that sort of incident.
Okay. Well, yeah, I mean, that makes sense, although they might be a little daunting. Once you take a look at and you're starting to answer those questions, it makes sense of why they're doing it and why they want to make sure that you have the right amount of security in place.
The other thing, before I stop you right there, the other thing with the why they're doing it is because they've asked certain questions before that said, do you have cybersecurity? And all these companies say yes. Oh, yeah, we're secure. We're secure. Don't worry about us. We're secure. Don't worry. And what we found out from auditing organizations is that they're not secure. Right. Firstly, they don't even know what they need to do for security. And secondly, half the time, they're not even completely doing what they say they're doing. And so these organizations have said, okay, we know what it takes for us to be secure. We're now going to start asking you those specific questions and say, are you doing it? And we're not just going to rely on you saying, oh, yeah, we're good, bruv, like it's no problem. They're going to say, what are you doing? How are you doing it? Improve it so that they can then go and vet that and decide if they want to either start working with you or continue working with you.
Gotcha. And that makes total sense, too. Now, let's say I run my own small business, 10 users. I haven't seen one of these requests yet. Right. I've never gotten one. I don't think I'm going to get one. Kind of, is there a benefit of being proactive in my security, even though I haven't gotten one of those requests?
Yeah, what we're really talking about is compliance. And so a lot of the businesses that we work with, they don't generally want to do the compliance side because it's a lot more work on their end. We do a lot of practical security. So what we'll do is we'll work with an organization and we will put our policies and procedures on what they're doing to get them up to a secure baseline level, that what we consider secure. There's a lot that goes above that. It has to do with the organizational level about figuring out policies and procedures. What users can use what computers? What can they put on those computers? So we try to make this floor that they can be safe, but then there's an extra level that you should do as a business, but a lot of businesses don't want to put in the work to do so. But what we've seen when you go through some sort of compliance is that you gain an insight of your business that is incredibly valuable. You know exactly how your business functions. You know how it runs. You know what needs to happen in order for your operational efficiency to be better. And so you gain things on the back end about your operations that you never would have gotten because you just understand exactly how your business works at a much more intimate level. Also, on top of that, you can potentially go to your clients or the potential new contracts that you work with and say, hey, if you work with us, we take security incredibly seriously. This is what we're doing for it, and we can prove that we're doing that sort of thing. If you work with us, not only will we keep your intellectual property safe and your sensitive data safe, but we can say that if we go through a cyber event, it's not going to impact you nearly as much as it would be for a company who's not doing these items. And so you can really use that as a leverage to drive a wedge between you and your competitors and benefit you on the sales end.
And I was thinking that exact same thing. One of the benefits coming from the sales world of why I would use it, if I'm a small to medium-sized business and I'm producing the same goods as another company, how am I really going to stand out? And one of the selling points that I would use is, hey, we're making the same product, but one thing that's not going to happen is we're not going to leave you guys vulnerable. We're not going to leave your clients vulnerable. Here's what we're doing for cybersecurity. And I would add that as a huge selling point to gain more contracts at that point. So a lot of benefits to having that a certain level of compliance through your security, and it's only a matter of time really before they're really going to see one of these at this point, right?
Well, and another thing that sets you out from that, if you're already doing a compliance, this company that we're working with that had the most recent one, they're not under our compliance program, they're under our security program. Had they been under our compliance program, it would have been very easy. Okay, here's all the policies and procedures that are being done currently for this, but now they're going to have to make some. So the work would have already been done. This request would have come through. They would have been able to say, hey, yeah, we got this. And it really truthfully so, because all the work would have been done already, and they just plop it down and put it on the desk. And so with redacting whatever information they don't want to potentially be out there with another vendor, there's some risk with releasing your complete cybersecurity posture out there, so they would be able to redact these documents, but they would be there, ready, already good to go. And in some places we've seen on our other compliance customers where they know they're going to get these kind of requests, or they want to have a proactive approach to it, they have documentation already ready that proves what they're doing for cybersecurity, specifically for the sales side of things, that says, hey, we're not only prepared, we'll prove it, and here's our proof of it.
Now, if let's say someone doesn't know where to start with creating those policies and procedures, where's a good jumping off point? And they know they need them at this point. How do they get started? What do they do?
So first of all, I'm going to say work with us. We're going to make this process way easier for you than you would be doing it on your own. We hold your hands. Not only do we do the cybersecurity side of it, where we make the effective tooling and the technical policies and procedures that make it actually work happen, but we work with you and hold your hand through the policy documents that you're going to have to do for your employees. What does this look like? What does that look like? And we make that done for you. We understand that. You could do it yourself. So here's some policies that you might want to look at, and some compliance programs you might want to look at. You might want to look at the NIST cybersecurity framework or the CIS controls. We follow the CIS controls here at Forbes because it mostly currently aligns with our cybersecurity stack, but the NIST cybersecurity framework is a great jumping off point. Gotcha. No matter what you're doing for cybersecurity, it should be based on some form of compliance framework anyways, and those are two good ones to go off of, so that you are not reinventing the wheel and you're following best practices and proven techniques and policies and procedures that are known to thwart threat actors from doing what we said before, the three bad things. And that's getting in the middle of finances and stealing money directly, stealing your intellectual property or sensitive data and blackmailing you for it, or logging up your operations and holding you for ransom. And so those are really good ways to start doing that sort of thing. But it's really, do you want to put in all the work and develop this from the ground up? And I can tell you it's very hard to do because we did it. Or do you want to work with a vendor like this who has the experience and knows how to do this already.
Gotcha. And that makes a lot of sense, John. And thank you for all the information you've provided today. Supply chain compliance request. They're coming. It's only a matter of time before you do get one. Be prepared. Reach out to us if you need any help with it, as John mentioned. And we're here to help get you through it. And like I said, there are some benefits to it as well. So just be on the lookout. And if you need anything, give us a call. Thanks, John.
Thank you. Thanks, everyone.
Thanks for tuning in to this episode of Uninterrupted, a podcast from Forbes Cybersecurity. We hope you walked away with practical insights to protect your business and stay ahead of the latest cyber threats. If you enjoyed today's episode, don't forget to subscribe, leave a review, and share with your colleagues. For more tips, resources, and cybersecurity updates, visit Forbes, that's 4BIS.com, and follow us on LinkedIn or Facebook. We'll be back soon with another episode, so stay vigilant and stay uninterrupted.